Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. There's an analyst who shares perspective as to why he believes that XRP will end up being, in the relatively short term, anywhere from $3.50 all the way up to $10. And he indicates the steps and just the things that would cause XRP price to be triggered to those types of levels. So a couple of things at the outset. I actually very much do appreciate what appears to me to be conservative expectations. And mind you, I say conservative, it's still wild returns if you compare that to what we see in legacy finance. It'll be life-changing wealth for a ton of you out there listening. I understand that. So when I say conservative, let's keep things in perspective. It's because I'm talking about in the world of crypto where sometimes people are expecting thousands of % gains in very short order. So I get that. But I still appreciate the conservative approach, especially after seeing some people expecting $10,000 XRP or over $100,000 XRP. Just, those are the things that make me want to bash my head into a wall, pretty much. So I'm glad. But now that being said, though, as far as the rationale for this perspective, I agree with some and respectfully disagree on other fronts. So I'm going to share with you my personal thoughts on this, and I'd love to hear if you guys think that I'm right or I'm wrong. Just keep the conversation going. And it's really subjective anyway, so there's no perfect answer. We'll just have to see how time unfolds. Also, I wanted to mention that we saw yesterday a new Bitcoin high for the year of 2023. And I know prices come down a little bit since then, but where's that $12,000 Bitcoin that some analysts were promising we'd see in January? Where are those people? Kind of quiet these days, huh? So again, the bottom for the market obviously was November of last year, unless there's a wild card event, in which that'll always be my little caveat. Okay, but no, the bottom is already in. And we're going to have the conclusion of the SEC v. Ripple case. Blue skies ahead so far as I'm concerned here. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Now, as I record this video, XRP is at 46 cents. Bitcoin at $30,222, market cap for the asset class 1.18 trillion, and Bitcoin dominance at 49.44%. Crypto Fear and Greed Index 55 out of 100, so down a little bit compared to what we'd seen in recent days, but still the lovable little fuzzy, cuddly retail lemmings out there, they're feeling like a bunch of greedy sons of bitches still. So good for them. I don't like them, cowering in fear and having trouble sleeping at night. So this is nice. This is nice for them. So here's a headline from the Crypto Basics. Settlements, relisting, and Ripple IPO can take XRP to $3.50 to $10. Top analyst. A prominent influencer, Crypto Assets Guy, recently took to Twitter outlining a series of price targets for XRP that he believes could be achieved in the future. He emphasized the need for realistic expectations within the XRP community. Now that part I gotta say is a breath of fresh air. I love people who are, you can be excited. I'm excited. It's okay to be excited, but still living within the confines of reality. That I always appreciate, but it's the case with any large group, because mind you, the XRP community is absolutely gigantic. I firmly believe it's the best community in all of crypto, but there are millions and millions and millions of us. So you're gonna get a little flavor in there. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get a little taste of God's creatures. You know what I'm saying? So that does mean that you're going to get some people who are extra excitable and will believe things that I think are absolutely nonsense and crazy, like, $100,000 plus XRP. Everybody's entitled to their perspective. But still, I find it refreshing when people are just doing their best to engage in logic and reason. And so, in realistic expectations. And so I think that this guy's trying to stay grounded. Definitely appreciate that, but I agree with some of what he said and disagree with couple big parts here. So I want to explain. So the tweet's on your screen. It's just from the other day. And he tweeted out basically things that could occur and then what he would expect the price to be as a result of that. So he wrote, settlement announcement, $3.50. Relisting in U.S. exchanges, $5. Ripple IPO, $7. Banks partnerships, $10. And then he wrote, stay realistic XRP fan. Okay, well, let's talk about this. I think one thing that just about all of us will agree on is that if there actually were some sort of settlement announcement, well, first of all, if you're talking about settlement before summary judgment, then yeah, we know that would be positive because Ripple wouldn't agree to settlement before summary judgment unless it were favorable for them and regarding the future clarity for XRP moving forward. So that would be gigantic, and yes, you'd see move to the upside, but also consider if he's talking about settlement which can occur after a negative, mind you, negative summary judgment, which I didn't realize for most of the last 2.5 years, that because I'm not a lawyer, but settlement can occur after the judge rules against a defendant. So there's still settlement, but it just means now that the settlement where the remedies portion of a trial, there's only so much that you can negotiate at that point. You're very much limited because the judge already found that you did stuff wrong. So that's pretty much it. So if you're talking about settlement after that, it would depend on whether or not that's positive specifically for XRP markets. If there is language in the final conclusion, even if Ripple technically lost, right? So if you're talking about a settlement announcement, he's already calling basically for XRP to get into the realm of a new all-time high. Now, I don't think that's wacky. I don't know if that's going to happen. If you had asked me for most of the last couple years, do I think that a positive conclusion for the SEC v Ripple case for XRP holders, would that lead to a new all-time high? For most of the last couple years, if you had asked me that, I would have been hesitant to say yes. I probably would have said maybe, but I'm not that convinced. That's what I would have said for most of the last couple years. I probably was. I was mostly thinking maybe it goes up to what? Not that this isn't a prediction, but I wouldn't have made it back then either. What does it go up to, like $2, $2.50? I don't know. But a new all-time high? And the reason I say that, it's for grounded reasons. It's because we've never seen XRP reach a new all-time high without Bitcoin going on a rally first. So if Bitcoin's going on a crazy rally and this happens in conjunction with it, okay, well, maybe it doesn't sound as crazy. But if it's in a vacuum where Bitcoin's not going on some crazy rally, that certainly makes it far less likely. But would this be big enough news that for the first time in history, XRP would make a move like that? I'm still not completely convinced that that's the case, but I've shared in recent weeks and months that I don't think that's a crazy concept. If you just look at the amount of expectation, like the number of eyeballs on a global scale watching this, I don't think it's crazy to suspect that it's possible. But in terms of the probability, man, that's a tough one, because again, we've never seen this before. It's one of those things where, you can look back after you actually have full hindsight. After whatever happens, you'll be like, oh yeah, it'll seem more clear because, do a little Monday morning quarterbacking. Well, yeah, and we'll be doing that. We'll be trying to dissect exactly what happened. And I'm just going to say right now, it's not the craziest idea, but I'll feel a lot better if Bitcoin happens to be running, as if it takes another month or two before we get this conclusion, say, and if Bitcoin is running even more, and then we get that conclusion, it's not a crazy thought. And then when he talks about, relisting of XRP on U.S. exchanges, pushing that up to $5, well, look, I think when you see positive news like that, it's possible you could see certain levels of excitement, because understand what we're talking about here is the fact that, from my perspective anyway, XRP, the price is artificially suppressed today, and we're talking about undoing that. So if you're talking about XRP moving up in price because of these things being undone, that doesn't sound wacky to me. That sounds perfectly reasonable to me. So, I don't know how you put a price target on that specifically. I mean, yes, there would be a lot more people suddenly able again to easily purchase XRP. So one would think it would do something. Now, the question is that short-lived? Is it not? Does it really push it to that level? Are we really going to be in new all-time high territory because of that? Because if you're talking about the conclusion of the case and relisting, those two things are likely to happen pretty close to in tandem. Not literally. Of course, you'd have the conclusion of the case first, some amount of delay, then relisting. So it makes sense for him to have separated in the way that he did. I'm just saying that they're still conceptually pretty closely related. But then if you're talking about Ripple IPO doing something, well, just consider this. And I would love for it to be the case, for a Ripple IPO to push the price of XRP that much higher. But I'm telling you, I've been in this space almost 6 years. November for me, it'll be 6 years. And I'm telling you, it is not the case that the price of XRP has been determined by what Ripple does. And so even for the people that purchased XRP because they were, even in part, hoping that the developer activity from Ripple would help, even for those people, they decried consistently that there would be positive news from Ripple and it wouldn't make the price of XRP budge. I've been seeing it for, again, almost 6 years at this point. So is this going to be basically the first time where that changes and you get positive news from Ripple? And then what? That makes XRP go? Maybe. I'm just saying, if you look back to historic precedent, that's not what we've seen. I would love for that to be the case. I'm just exhibiting some skepticism here. Crypto assets guy here seems to be much more confident that this is going to do that. But I just have to ask, based on what data? What data do you have historically that would make you think that what Ripple does is going to result in positive price action? Because I'll tell you what, the SEC has had more power over the price of XRP than Ripple has. Because when the SEC sued Ripple, effectively attacking XRP holders, that impacted negatively the price of XRP. It's artificially suppressed today, and them losing, that's going to cause it to go back up, I do believe, undoing much of that damage. But Ripple, not seeing that. So Ripple IPO basically goes to go to $7. I gotta say, I'm pretty skeptical on that one. Not the price range. The price range doesn't sound crazy to me. I think based on speculation alone, just in crypto markets and continued adoption of crypto and XRP in general, that seems reasonable to me. That doesn't seem remotely wacky at all. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying it doesn't sound crazy at all. I think most people listening, my guess would be that most of you think that's really conservative. And I say fair enough to that. But then bank partnerships pushing XRP to $10. This is where I'm starting to think, okay, with each explanation of why XRP would hit a new level, you lose me a little bit more. I just respectfully disagree on this, because again, if looking back, what's been happening for the entirety of the existence of Ripple and what they've been doing with XRP, like I just stated a couple minutes ago, Ripple's positive business developments has not positively impacted the price of XRP, and I don't know what you would think is going to make that change right now. So, and I don't want to go too far off on a tangent on this, because I've explained this in great detail so many times, but individual transactions as it pertains to on-demand liquidity, if you just look at an individual transaction, there's basically equivalent buy and sell side pressure happens so quickly that if you look on a tiny scale like that, you can quickly understand why an individual transaction isn't really going to do a whole lot of anything for price. But if you do understand that if there's a certain amount of XRP that's being used for one use case, say on-demand liquidity, that means that it can't be used for anything else. So if there is sufficient demand, that I still do believe that that's something that in theory certainly could drive up the price of XRP. So I'm not saying that it couldn't here. I don't know if that's what he's even getting at, though. It sounds like he's just saying news of bank partnerships unfolding and that moving the price up. So it just kind of depends. So I appreciate the realistic numbers here. I agree with some of what he's saying here in terms of undoing the damage from the SEC bogus nonsense, if that occurs. But when he's talking about what Ripple's doing, causing the price of XRP to go up that much, there's just no historical precedent for it. So I hope he's right. That would be fantastic. But either way, the price ranges, I don't think they're wacky, and I don't see why they couldn't perhaps be hit even without that. What I'm saying is Ripple doesn't have to have an IPO and all these bank partnerships for XRP to do that anyway. And then there is this also. I just wanted to mention this real quick. Yesterday, here's that line from Cointelegraph. Bitcoin hits new yearly highs as Bitcoin price rebounds to $31,500. So you love to see it. And I know there's no shortage of people talking about this idea of, hey, we're going to be seeing $10,000 or $12,000 Bitcoin. How many times did you hear that in January of this year? No. Because, and I remember talking about the time, I was like, well, if we see the contagion spread, and I actually did think that it was more likely based on what I was seeing at the time. I found the cases to be compelling that you could perhaps see the contagion spread. And we technically actually did see it spread a little bit, but it just didn't have the momentous impact that you saw from the collapse in 2022. So it seems like most of the damage that was going to be done, and this is some of that Monday morning quarterbacking type of stuff here. It seems like most of the damage that was going to be done, it was already done. So even before, so it could only spread so much further. So after FTX, fine, that was the final big one. But yeah, what happened with Terra Luna collapse and Three Arrows Capital, Voyager, the whole story, 2022, right? So that happened, causing whoever's going to exit. Most of the damage already done. I guess it just is the case that there weren't as many people left that potentially even could be or would ever consider exiting the market. So what I'm saying is there's more people like me and perhaps you, if you're like this mindset too, where it's just like, whatever happens, you're not going to shake me. So perhaps that's it. So there was a bit of a contagion spread, but it wasn't particularly consequential. And so, looking back now, we can pretty well see, And then that was my, and by the way, that was my caveat even back then. I said, look, the bottom's in as of November. I remember saying that half a year ago with my, I said, unless the contagion spreads or some sort of wild card event. So my stance on that hasn't changed, but I think we can say with a high level of confidence at this point, yeah, that was it. So, with all that being said and done, and taking everything into account, what do you think is most reasonable and most probable in terms of XRP price action? Because I'm expecting a major move to the upside as long as we get positive news. I think most people are expecting that. I'm not going to make a price prediction, and I also acknowledge that if we get bad news, you could see a move to the downside. Maybe I wake up one day, I check the price of XRP before looking at the news, and I see it's way, way, way down. I'm like, okay, I guess Judge Torres didn't do us a solid, right? You know, that's what I would be thinking at that particular moment in time. But I don't think that's what's probable. And I will say, even if we get that bad news, there's a reason I'm not scared. Many reasons I'm not scared. One of the big ones there is that I firmly believe that even if we get a bad ruling from Torres, that upon appeal, if it goes all the way to the Supreme Court, which I believe, you know, if it has to, I believe it will, the Supreme Court is going to smack down the SEC because they've been engaging in jurisdictional overreach. So I just have no fear. And I also don't need that, you know, that money, what I've invested in XRP back anytime soon. In fact, if it goes to zero, life will go on for me. I still will have my retirement. It's okay. I will have lost a lot of money if that happens. I won't pretend like I wouldn't be, but life will go on. And so in the meantime, since I don't need it, I'm just going to wait. I will wait and wait and wait and be more patient than any other damn human on the planet because that's just how I roll. So anyway, those are my thoughts on this. Let me know what you think. I'll stop yammering on, though. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Family Sedan.